How is it going, everybody? And welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Brock at the Buzzer podcast. I'm your host, Brock Kowalski, and in today's episode, we're discussing all about the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they will do in the NBA draft this Thursday night. Before I get started, though, I'd like to tell you that all of my social media links are in a Linktree link down below in the description. And let's get started. After watching the Chase Down podcast hosted by Justin Rowan and Carter Shade, which is on the Cavs YouTube channel, which I will link both episodes regarding the Cavaliers draft exclusively in the description below, I knew I had to put an episode together of my own. Why so late, you may ask? Because I knew I had to get an idea who the Cavs could be drafting at 14. And I also have to admit, I do not watch college basketball. Why? There's no defense not much defense played in college basketball. But the guys who play defense often get drafted into the NBA, but also the lottery. And now that I have an idea, or not an idea, but names that I keep on hearing over and over and over again, here are my views. How and why the Cavaliers got the number 14 overall pick in the NBA draft. The Cavs traded this pick in the Karis LeVert trade in February, along with Ricky Rubio and a second-round pick via the Houston Rockets. But due to the fact the Cavs missed the playoffs, which they did technically, they now own the number 14 overall selection. Now onto the Cavaliers team needs. A wing. What do I mean by a wing? By those of you who don't watch basketball as frequently as I do, a wing is a shooting guard or a small forward type of player that plays defense. A backup point guard, which I believe is more likely they'll address that need in free agency. And a backup center also, I feel like the Cavs are more than likely to address in free agency as well, because the Cavs have a few things on their to-do list in free agency, such as sign Darius Garland to his max extension he rightfully earned this past season, signed Colin Sexton to a manageable contract extension, and, as I said, addressed those two needs. But drafting a wing makes a lot of sense for the Cavs in this situation. The Cavs are looking for, I believe anyway, an Andrew Wiggins type of player, which is very hard to find. But the good news for the Cavs, this draft is filled with wings that could fit into the Andrew Wiggins mold or already are. Drawing comparisons to the newly crowned NBA champion, Andrew Wiggins. I also feel the Cavs will not trade this pick, despite the Hoops Hype report that came out Sunday afternoon saying the Cavs were interested in trading the number 14 overall pick in exchange for a first-round pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And I don't see that happening unless it's for a proven asset like Jeremy Grant, for example. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but that's what I mean by a proven asset. Due to the fact, as I said, according to multiple mock drafts, this is a very deep class in wings. And the Cavs are in dire need of another wing. Also, I have not heard anything whether it be my number one source for Cavs news, Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, or so on and so forth, about trading this pick. The only report that has come out about the Cavs trading this pick is from Hoops Hype, and I don't find them a credible source, because it's not coming from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, it is not coming from Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, it is not coming from Shams Kamara of The Athletic. It is coming from some in my opinion, some speculative website that wants clicks. So I don't buy that argument. Nor do I buy the fact that Cavs are going to trade the number 14 overall pick if their guy is there. And I believe one of their guys is one of the three guys that I'm about to list right now. And another thing that I want to talk about is also during this draft process, the Cavs have been, quote, very buttoned up, according to Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, which tells me the Cavs want to keep their options open, which could mean them trading the pick, trading down in the draft, etc., etc. As I said, I don't see them trading this pick. I think the more likely option is for them to trade back in the draft if their guy is still there. But based on the three guys that I'm going to talk about here in this video, I'm not seeing a scenario where one of these three guys are still there. Again, these three guys that I'm about to talk about are names I keep hearing over and over and over and over again. So, here is my final opinion. I think the Cavs make the pick, but also take a swing on a young prospect that is kind of unproven, has some work to do, whether it is on the offensive or defensive end of the floor, much like the San Antonio Spurs did with Joshua Primo last year in 2021. And now the moment that you've all been waiting for, my opinions on who the Cavs should take in this draft. First and foremost, let's start with the hometowner from Ohio State University, shooting guard Malachi Branham. According to multiple sources, he has great character. He's a hometown kid, which is something the Cavs look for in terms of having good character, and they've been hitting on that aspect of their draft process over the last several years. Examples are, of course, Isaac Okoro and Evan Mobley. Branham's strengths are this. He shot 40% from three, which is something the Cavs need desperately. They need another three-point weapon. Yes, they have Darius Garland, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, but you can never have enough three-point shooters, especially when you're playing with a guard like Darius Garland. He averaged 19 points per game in the Big Ten in his freshman year. Also, he is a very good ISO scorer, which means he is very good one-on-one against his primary defender. And in my opinion, in the video that I saw of him, he is very good in the open floor as well. His weaknesses. He is, according to Adam Spinella of the Box and One, you can find his YouTube channel. Just search the words Box and One or Adam Spinella, which is a pretty easy name to spell. He is a very mid-range, heavy player. And that could slow the Cleveland offense down, which is not something they need right now because they need to get faster on the offensive side of the ball. He also has defensive concerns, but the caveat is this. Of course, as you all know, the Cavs have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley behind him, and I feel like that will wash themselves out due to the elite rim protection of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. The second prospect that I've heard his name over and over and over again linked to the Cleveland Cavaliers is shooting guard Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. Williams has phenomenal size. He is 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. And that is something the Cavs need, especially in that backcourt, because as we all know, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton are both on the smaller side when it comes to size in the Cleveland backcourt. The strengths of Williams are this. He is great in the pick and roll, which is a Cavs staple already with Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. He is athletic, defensively sound. He has offensive creation in his game, which obviously that is something that the Cavs need more of. Offensive creation, because if you have more of that, it speeds your offense up 9 times out of 10. And the Cavs obviously lacked that last year, which made their offense one of the slowest in the NBA. And as I say here, the offensive creation is something the Cavs lack on their current roster. Weaknesses. The isolation scoring. What I mean by that is he plays a lot of one-on-one, doesn't really look to pass other than the fact that or when he's in the pick and roll, but obviously I think the Cavs are going to be able to fix that. But the biggest concern is this: lack of shooting range. He only shot 33% from 3 in college at Santa Clara, which is a big concern because obviously a big need for this Cavs team offense in general this offseason is three-point shooting. And that assessment, or should I say mock, is according to Matt Norlander of CBS Sports. And the final name that I've been hearing over and over and over again linked to the Cavs is guard Johnny Davis from Wisconsin. He is a 6'5" combo guard. His strengths are his one-on-one scoring, on-ball defense, which is something the Cavs always look for because Coach Bickerstaff's system has always been defense first. And he also has a catch-and-shoot upside because he averaged 19.7 points per game at a high volume over at Wisconsin. Davis's weaknesses, according to Zach Harper and also Adam Spinella of Box and One. Zach Harper is from The Athletic. His weaknesses are his lack of quickness, which to me is not a make or break for the Cavaliers because the Cavs have 2 quick guards already in Garland and Sexton. Sexton, of course, if he signs a long-term extension. And Davis can provide a change of pace if the Cavs keep both Garland and Sexton off the Cavs bench. Maybe play a little slower, which could play into the Cavs' advantage, especially with Davis coming off the bench. His lack of ball movement, which should be a concern from the Cavs because as the roster is currently constructed, they really don't have any ball movers except Darius Garland. And finally, his shooting consistency. He only shot a bleak 20.8% from 3 in his final 15 games at Wisconsin. And before I conclude here, again, these names that I listed off in this episode are names that I've heard over and over and over again linked to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's not like I'm snatching their name out of thin air. I watched the Chase On podcast. I did a little research before recording this episode. And I believe one of those 3 guys will, in fact, be at the Cavs' disposal at 14. Now, would I be against the Cavs trading backward if the guy's still there and possibly getting another first overall or a first round pick next year? No. But would I be opposed to them trading for a bench guy they don't necessarily need on the roster for the 14th overall pick because, so-and-so makes less money than this draft pick would? Absolutely. I would be opposed to that. Again, I think the Cavs take a wing here, focus on the center and point guard markets in free agency because, honestly, if I'm the Cavs, I feel really good about my situation because I'm not looking for a make-or-break talent here at 14. If he becomes that, great. That's another weapon we can use along with Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. But does he have to contribute and set the NBA on fire? No. Okay? And back to the needs of a point guard or backup point guard and a center for the Cavaliers. There's options out there. After the draft, I will get on again and discuss all of those options for the Cavs. Again, there's a lot of rumors flooding the NBA landscape right now. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. But for now, before I go, please tune in to the NBA draft on Thursday, which is less than 48 hours away, on ABC and ESPN, because you're going to see a lot of new faces get selected into the NBA, but also I think you're going to see some trades go down that will leave your mouth wide open, because I think this draft free agency period is going to be one of the craziest ever in terms of player movement. I'm not talking about guys signing different places that you didn't expect, big name guys going elsewhere necessarily, other than a few that we've been hearing. And if you've been paying attention over the last few days, you know exactly who I'm referring to. But I'm talking about guys like DeAndre Ayton. I'm talking about guys like Rudy Gobert. I'm talking about guys like Clint Capella. I'm talking about guys like John Collins. All of these guys could be on the move here in the coming days. And I think all the craziness starts again on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC and ESPN. But for now, guys, I really hope you enjoy the show. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And I'll see you all on the next episode of the Brock of the Buzzer podcast.